Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's just dive right in. Today, we're exploring a deeply relatable, honestly kind of fascinating personal narrative. It's about a guy named Thomas who took what most of us consider literally the absolute worst part of the day, that soul-crushing, bumper-to-bumper daily commute, and somehow completely transformed it into the absolute best part of his day. We're going to look at how just a simple shift in his routine totally rewrote his relationship with his own time.
To really wrap your head around the scale of this, just think about the number 500. 500 hours. That's the staggering amount of quote-unquote dead time Thomas lost every single year just sitting in freeway traffic. 2 hours every day, 1 hour there, 1 hour back. That is 10 hours a week, 40 hours a month, adding up to nearly 500 hours a year of pure wasted potential. I mean, think about what you could realistically achieve with 500 extra hours. You could become fluent in a new language, read an entire library's worth of books, or build a deep meditation practice. But instead, Thomas was just sitting there, trapped in a metal box, watching his time literally drain away.
So that brings us to part one, the visceral commute, and what it really means to be trapped in dead time.
You see, Thomas didn't just mildly dislike this routine. It was an isolating, soul-draining nightmare of lukewarm coffee, inching forward by actual millimeters, just staring at this endless sea of identical red brake lights. Honestly, the best word to describe his experience is visceral. And by visceral, I mean dealing with deep, instinctive feelings rather than intellect. Thomas had a visceral hatred of traffic. It wasn't logical. It was this deep-in-the-gut, morning-crushing anger. Sitting in that car, forcing himself to listen to podcasts he didn't even really like just to drown out the silence, watching other drivers aggressively cut him off just to move up one single car length, it made him feel like he was slowly but surely turning into someone who was just permanently angry at the world.
Moving on to part two, losing the illusion, and the inciting incident that changed everything.
This miserable routine was completely upended on a random Tuesday morning when the dreaded check engine light finally came on. His car broke down, and the mechanic hit him with the bad news, 3 full weeks to get the part to fix it. And he had uncancelable meetings. So, forced into a corner, he had to take the nearby train he had ignored for years. Now, you might be wondering, why had he avoided it for so long? Well, it really comes down to one word: autonomy, independence, the right to self-govern. Thomas clung to his car because it gave him this illusion of freedom. He thought the train was just for people who didn't have cars. But in reality, his supposed freedom was actually just trapping him in 500 hours of miserable dead time every year. With a broken car and 0 other options, he finally had to let that illusion go.
Now, his transition definitely wasn't some instant success story. On his first day, he went through a very distinct process. Step 1, pure fury. Just white-hot anger over his broken car and the massive inconvenience of it all. Then came step 2, severe, awkward discomfort over unspoken train etiquette. He didn't know where to sit, whether it was okay to make eye contact, or really just how to behave in this crowded space where everyone else seemed to instinctively know the rules. But eventually, as the days turned into weeks, he reached step 3, releasing control. He stopped worrying about himself, let go of his anxiety, and finally just started observing the people around him.
Which leads us perfectly into part 3, finding community, and the ecosystem of the train.
The very second Thomas let his guard down, he realized something amazing. The train wasn't just a metal tube moving people from point A to point B. It was a vibrant, mindful ecosystem. It was the complete opposite of that aggressive isolation he felt in his car. Instead of being surrounded by angry drivers trapped in their own boxes, he was suddenly observing this beautiful daily community. There was Maya, a librarian who shared book recommendations with genuine, undeniable passion. There was David, a guy practicing guitar for his first album, actually using the rhythmic clack of the train tracks to keep time. He saw elderly couples navigating the platform, holding hands in peaceful silence. And there was this loud, energetic group of teenagers who he watched patiently study calculus together.
Watching those teenagers actively and patiently explain difficult math concepts to a friend who was struggling, well, it completely shattered his belief that commuting had to be this solitary void. As the source material beautifully puts it, learning, actual learning, didn't have to be solitary. It could be social. Thomas realized he was witnessing the immense educational value of human connection. By helping each other, those kids weren't just killing time, they were cementing their own understanding of calculus while lifting a peer up. It's a stark reminder of the profound social benefits of collaborative learning, and that is something absolutely impossible to experience when you're isolated behind a steering wheel. He realized this shared space actually fostered growth, not just transportation.
And that brings us to part 4, reclaiming dead time and a total shift in perspective. So after 6 weeks of this new routine, his mechanic calls. The part came in early, the car is fixed. But instead of just going back to his old life, Thomas makes a radical decision. He picks up his car, drives it straight to his insurance company, reduces his coverage to the absolute bare minimum, and decides to keep taking the train. His coworkers thought he was completely crazy, especially since the commute literally took the exact same amount of time. But for Thomas, the choice was obvious. He was trading the pure, angry isolation and that visceral hatred of his car for the deep mindfulness, genuine connections, and constant personal growth he found on public transit. He realized that the isolation of driving just breeds stress, while the shared, mindful environment of the train invited him to actually be present and engaged.
But here's what truly matters: what he actually did with that reclaimed time. He wasn't just staring blankly out the window. Instead of letting those 500 hours die in traffic, Thomas transformed them. He finished 7 books in his first 3 months and eventually read 37 books in total. 37! He immersed himself in true crime and history podcasts that he was genuinely fascinated by. And perhaps most importantly, he spent those 2 hours every single day calling his mother. He wasn't just doing a quick check-in because he was exhausted from a tense drive, he was genuinely connecting. He spent hours talking to her about her painting hobby, really deeply discussing his dad's health. The commute had basically become this dedicated space for profound family connection.
Over the next 2 years, this once-hated commute officially became his absolute favorite part of the day, all because of the community and the self-development it brought into his life. When his car finally died completely at the 2-year mark, he didn't even bother fixing it. Literally 1 week later, he bought a bicycle to ride to the train station on nice days. That false illusion of autonomy the car originally promised, it was entirely gone. And in its place, Thomas had found actual freedom.
Whenever people asked Thomas why he didn't just drive, he'd explain that he was wasting the exact same amount of time in traffic, he was just doing it completely alone. The commute time didn't change at all. But what he chose to do with it, well, that changed his entire life. So when you look at your own daily routines, your own 500 hours, the time doesn't change, but what will you do with it? Think about that, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.